Witch Queen is right around the corner. As of recording this video, it is less than 24 hours until the launch, and even closer to that scheduled downtime to where we can actually preload the DLC, which I'm very excited about. But before we went into Witch Queen, I wanted to try to make an overview video of Beyond Light, talk about the good and the bad, and how the game has changed from that launch of Beyond Light to where we are now. Because it's kind of fun to think about how different it was and just how much of a completely different game it used to be. Like at the launch of Beyond Light to where we are now is like night and day. It's completely different. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about it before the launch of Witch Queen, just so we can, again, take a step back and look at Beyond Light. So let's start off at the beginning. Shadowkeep was the DLC right before it, and for me, I was not into it. It was not really for me. It was okay. The seasons were fairly good, I think. Season of the Dawn was a good one for me, but then like Season of the Worthy, and then I didn't really care for Arrivals too much, which I think even might be considered a hot take. But I digress. With Beyond Light, people were using that, I think, to try to get away from Shadowkeep and what needed to be, in my opinion, fix the game. I think that Beyond Light was what a lot of people wanted to, and they thought that this was going to fix everything Shadowkeep did wrong and improve more and just make the game a lot better, which I think in a lot of ways it did, but a lot of ways it did not. This is, in my opinion, a very half-baked DLC. But when that trailer came out, I had my friends and my brother saying, this is going to be a great DLC. I can't wait for it. And I was like, I was resilient on that. I didn't really know. I was a little afraid of the freezing, which I came to be correct about, at least in the launch. But let's jump forward to the launch of Beyond Light. So Beyond Light comes out, and it did a really good thing for a lot of things. Obviously it has the new campaign, and then which that campaign was, in my opinion, was all right. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't like super great or anything, but it was what it was. And then obviously we got our stasis subclasses, those being Warlocks, Shadebinder, the Silence and Squall on the Hunter, and the Behemoth Titan. Very, very fun to play with, but when they came out, they were way too hot, and I think even Bungie understood that, and I think that was actually done on purpose to help sell the content by making this new thing that you had to buy the DLC for super, super good. And not only was it super good, but it was broken in PvP. As we saw, Behemoth was disgusting. You would be able to, they pop it and you were frozen around you. All they did was pop it and you get like 2-3 kills easily because they're frozen. And remember, the freezes were very long. You were frozen for a while, so it was a big deal. The melee lunge was ridiculous. At the speed you would get from the slide, there was just so many really, really good things about Behemoth. There's also really, really good things about that Warlock too. Not just in PvP with the Bleak Watcher turret, which slows and freezes enemies the longer it shoots. Super, super good in Grandmaster Nightfalls and just PvE in general, but it's also decent in PvP too. That super, in my opinion, right now, currently in Season of the Lost, is one of the grossest and best supers on Warlock, easily. It is a very, very powerful super. The mid game, or the grenades and the melee are okay, but like the super itself is really good. But let's move on to Hunters. We all know they had the Shatter Dive, which was so broken for so long. I think you could one shot with it just like a few months ago, before the update with the 30th anniversary. It was way too strong for way too long, and I think that actually made the game worse overall, because instead of balancing and trying to fix it, I think they were trying to nerf it a little bit less just so it stayed hot and fresh for the people who are just buying Beyond Light, without, but at the same time not being as broken as it was. And I understand that, but I think again the the powerfulness of Stasis was intentional to help sell the DLC. But that's it did a lot of good too, though. Beyond Light, it really did. Again, Deepstone Crypt is, in my opinion, one of the best raids we've ever gotten in this game, easily. It's better than Vault of Glass right now. In my opinion, it's not as good as Last Wish. It's very good, but it is really good. Um, it also mixed Gambit Prime with Gambit. I know some people don't really care for Gambit, but I think it was a good mix. Overall, the only thing I wish they would have done is kept the armor, but that's okay. That is fine. But that also, you also got to remember. I think with the launch of Beyond Light, they did sunset a bunch of weapons, which made it really hard to say bye to some of those weapons, or say goodbye to a lot of our weapons that we loved. You know, so we lost a lot of weapons back in the day. There's a lot of FOMO too because of it, like the fear of missing out on certain weapons. Like you already that these things happen, but that again was fixed at the same time because they brought the kiosk in the tower, and you could pick up abandoned quests, things like that. Um, but in terms of weapons, like honestly, I can't even tell you like any memorable weapons that came from Beyond Light. Honestly, besides exotics like Lament and things like that, but that it is what it is. You know what I mean? Another thing that launched was Season of the Hunt, which in my opinion was a C tier season. The best parts about it is that we got Duality and Hawkmoon. They're very good in PvP, and Hawkmoon is, in my opinion, the best hand cannon currently in the game, and Duality is the best shotgun currently in the game. I just think that's how it is right now. The reason why I say it wasn't great, though, is that there was a lack of real content. See, like once you got your Hawkmoon, and you maxed out the pass, there really wasn't much else to do. Wrathborn hunts were not, in my opinion, very like viable in terms of getting good weapons, because those weapons were mediocre. In my opinion, Vouchsafe was probably the best weapon there. But the weapons were mediocre. The story was okay, and I don't think it really brought a lot to the table. After that season, though, we did see a bit more improvement in one of my favorite seasons, current in the current times, season of the Chosen. This is the one that introduced Keitel into the mix, which I think it was who is an interesting character still to this day. This improved our power level cap to 1300 and pinnacle to 1310. We got Battlegrounds, which, say what you will about Battlegrounds. I think Battlegrounds is okay. It's not super fun, but it's not like extremely. It's not extremely boring either, and we're gonna see it mixed into the Vanguard playlist anyway. When Witch Queen drops in a day. So yeah, this also brought the Helm, where we can decrypt our Umbral engrams now. This brought a new strike. It brought the Proving Grounds, which is one of the hardest Grandmasters I've ever played in my life. Beating it for the first time to get an Adept Palindrome was one of the most fun experiences I've had. It also brought in weapons like Tiku's Divination, which is a super good bow in PvE, and it's actually somewhat useful in PvP. And it also brought the Dead Man's Tale, which is my favorite gun in all of Destiny history right now. It's a Tex Mechanica scout rifle that's really good from hip firing with the catalyst, and it's a 120, which it's the only one in its class. It's a super deadly scout rifle. It is busted in PvP right now, but hopefully with the hipfire RPM nerf, we might see a little bit more fairness to it. Back again though, this also brought two new Trials weapons, those being Igneous Hammer and Sheor's Wrath, which are still some of the best weapons from Trials, especially Sheor's Wrath. It was super good. Another thing it added, again, it added three pinnacle or 3 adept weapons to get in Grandmaster Nightfalls. Those being the Palindrome, Shadow Price, and the Swarm. Obviously, the Palindrome is the best one there, but for PvP and probably PvE at that point. But I still even use Shadow Price to this day. I think Season of the Chosen off of Season of the Hunt was a super good like step forward. It actually helped got me to really enjoy playing again. At this point, I was hooked on Season of the Chosen. I was pretty much hooked. But then that gets us to Season of the Splicer, which in my opinion is another step up in a lot of ways. Again, Pinnacle got raised to 1320. So we got more of that. We got the override missions on Europa, the Moon, Tangled Shore. It had some of the most unique looking and feeling weapons in the game. Those being things like Ignition Codes, Grid Skipper, Chroma Rush. All of them, in my opinion, are good weapons. A lot of them are really, really fun to use. And the Vex simulation area is super cool. We haven't seen anything like it, and it's super unique looking and super cool. Also, you could get like super good high stat rolls if you did the Corrupted Expunge mission. You can get extremely good high tier level armor. It also brought back Vex Mythoclast with the Vault of Glass. Not my favorite raid from D1, but it did improve upon D1, making it a little bit more complex, having to shoot those oracles in the right sequence, making it a lot easier, in my opinion. Or not easier, just a little bit more complex and more. It's just a fresher way and a better way of doing Vault of Glass right. The weapons in Vault of Glass were really, really good. Every single one is viable in some way. They also have their adept counterparts, them being time lost weapons. And if you get all the time lost weapons, all 5 of them, you then get the opportunity to get the time lost found verdict, which is probably the best shotgun in the game right now. That's a legendary. It was just super good. And PvP in Season of the Splicer, I think, got really good at the same time, because it just felt, with the new weapons, just felt really good. The only things that I really had an issue with was Trials, but Trials wasn't fixed at that point, you got to remember. And also the seasonal armor wasn't super great this time around. And also same thing with Season of the Chosen. The Hunts is all right, but I digress. It also brought Cryosthesia, which is the first stasis sidearm. Which is super unique and super cool. It's got a really cool effect. It's not like the most powerful thing, but it's fun, and I think that's just fine with me. I had a really good time with Season of the Splicer, attempting Vault of Glass Day 1, things like that. It was a lot of fun. And then we get into Season of the Lost from right after that, which I think even improves on Season of the Splicer in some. The biggest drawback with Season of the Lost is that it was 6 months long, which is extremely, extremely lengthy. This brought things like astral alignment and the things like that. The Shattered Realm was also added, which are just some PvE activities you can get to get the weapons. The only another drawback, I won't say it's perfect, but the weapons are okay in my opinion. Valpecula is probably one of the better ones. Fractithis is also very good. But it was really good overall, I think, in PvE. Again, a big problem was PvP, and they started to fix that in things like Trials. They fixed Trials. They made it a lot better and a lot more noob friendly for people who are not as good that still want to go flawless. It made it a lot easier to go flawless with that. And then with the 30th anniversary, it balanced a lot of the things that we had issues with. Those being ability spam was tuned down significantly. Shatter Dive no longer one-shots unless you're in the center of the crystal. Things like that. It just felt a lot better. And now the only things that people really are complaining about is not, oh, this guy's ability, it's, oh, this guy's gun, which I think is a lot better overall than an ability. But I digress, and that's also just my opinion. It also brought Agra Scepter, which is a super fun and super good trace rifle. But then again, in that December update, we got the anniversary event, which brought the Grasp of Avarice, which is one of my favorite dungeons in Destiny 2 right now. Super fun. It's very solo friendly in my opinion. That's the only dungeon I've been able to solo flawless, because I think that the reward, that being the emblem, was super super good. It also brought things like the Forerunner, which is a very very unique exotic, and it brought weapons and like uh, the other half and things like that. You know what I mean? Um, it brought these super fun new legendary weapons and free armor sets if you don't purchase it, that are based off some of Bungie's best work in some of their most iconic games, being Marathon, Myth, and Halo. And it brought back Gallarhorn, which is a super super good exotic rocket launcher, which you probably remember from Destiny 1. But I think from the start of season, or from the start of Beyond Light to the end of Season of Lost, I think all the most of the issues from Beyond Light that we had, things like lack of content, I feel like was in there, overpowered stasis, like a fear of missing out because of some of the sun setting things, just quality of life changes. I think a lot of those were fixed with Season of the Lost returning to us. I think that Season of the Lost really fixed a lot of issues that we had with Beyond Light, and I think it's fun to again to look back and see just how far we've came from Beyond Light to where we are now. It's actually super fun to think about, in my opinion. But yeah, I just wanted to give like a super brief recollection of Beyond Light, just an overview before it's gone, because Witch Queen is again coming out, and I think it is going to be sad to say goodbye somewhat to Beyond Light and a lot of the fun things that we've had, like the Forsaken campaign and the Tangled Shore, and a lot of the weapons are being vaulted. So I just wanted to look back a little bit. I probably didn't get every single minute detail, but I'm not trying to like become Evan F right now. This is all off the cuff. This is all pretty much from memory. So I was just wanting to put something out as a look back on Beyond Light, because I think Beyond Light was a big step up from Shadowkeep, and it brought players like me back, who I would skip certain seasons in Shadowkeep. I didn't skip a single season in Beyond Light, regardless of all the issues that I had with it, and I still felt like it was very solid. Overall, it's like a B tier. Overall, I would rate Beyond Light a B tier expansion. Again, brought back Vault of Glass, great raid, Deepstone Crypt, which is even better. But I think, again, looking back on Season of Lost from the start of Beyond Light to Season of Lost, the game has evolved so much more and just become so much more fun for not just people who pay to play, but people who are free to play. I think there's always something to do for everybody in the game. But that's pretty much all my final thoughts, guys. If you enjoyed or have anything else to add, leave a like and put whatever you have to say in the comments. I would like to